Good morning students, welcome back to the Sheba online class. Today we go for the same lesson, that is periodic classification of elements. In this periodical classification of elements we already learned about the previous class, that is the history of the periodical table as well as what is that the electronic configurations. Okay. Now the topic is nomenclature of the elements with atomic number of greater than 100. You have to understand about that. The less than 100 you can tell the answer the using of IUPAC name. What is that IUPAC? First of all I am going to explain about that IUPAC. IUPAC means the full form is International Union of Pure Applied Chemistry. International Union of Pure Applied Chemistry, that is the abbreviations of that IUPAC name. In this IUPAC name is considered as the common name of all over the world. Okay. So apart from that IUPAC, if there is no name of the IUPAC name, you have to give that the temporary name. That is using that method. I am going to explain about how to use that the temporary name of that is element. Okay. If consider as that the digit as well as the name. 0 means nil, 1, 2, 3 as well as up to 9. And bi, tri, quad, pen, hex, hep, out, n. Okay. This is the common name for the digits. So you have to read out, I will send out the notes. So you have to use what is that digit and what is that name as well as. Okay. And then this is the abbreviation. You just know about the abbreviations. It is not in use, but you have to know that abbreviations. Okay. So I will give that some examples, and previous we have to know about that small instructions. That is, you have to add the suffix of that name. For example, you have to add the name digit as well as you have to complete with IUM, that is IM. Okay. For example, another example, ENN, N means 9. 9 plus nil, nil means 0, that is 90. You have to tell N nil. So you have to enter the name. You can the simple way to write N nil, that is that procedure. No need to write that the full form ENNNIL. No need to write. You just simply have to write ENIL. That's it. The same way have to go for that by M. By means 2. IM. So IM means by IM. You have to write that. You want to write that double I, but no need to write the double I. Just you have to write IBIUM. That's right. Okay. This is the simple instructions to write. If you explain through this example, it will be very easy to understand. Okay. This is the examples. 101 for element is 101 on that periodical table. If you consider as the 101 is the element, the temporary name, how to give that temporary name. 1 is an, plus 0 means nil. You have to refer the tabulations also. Okay. And again 1 is an. So you have to write that the frame the name for the temporary is, I am also write down for that symbol also, the first letter U, N, U. So this is the symbol. Okay. And move on to this name. An, nil, an, niyam. Niyam. IM is the suffix. You have to add at the IM. Okay. Are you clear? I am going to explain again. An, nil, an, niyam. An, nil, an, niyam. That is the name for 101. Okay. And then go for the another one. 102. 1 means an, 0 means nil, 2 means by. An, nil, by m. An, nil, by m. The symbol is UNB. And go for that 103. An, nil, tri. An, nil, trium. Okay. Likewise, you can frame that name for the temporary. For example, move on to this one more examples for that 112. 112th elements, how to write that? That is an and by. So an and by m. The symbol is UUB. So it's very interesting to learn if you refer these tabulations. Okay. So likewise you have to write down for practice well. For the written practice, you can write that the temporary name of that the elements the greater than hundreds. Okay. And move on to this next chapter, next concept is grouping of elements and the electron configurations. What is the grouping of elements and electron configuration? That is the most important to learn about that periodical table. I am going to explain about that periodical table, and before that I want to explain that is how to write the electronic configurations to the easy way method. I am already explained about that off-bow principles. Okay, off-bow principles is the tabulation way. You notice that the page of the off-bow principle. Here I am going to write down the easy way method. You have to follow that 1s, 2s, 3s up to that 8s, and this is the s orbitals and p orbitals 2p up to 7p, and d orbitals 3d to 6d, and f orbitals 4f and 5f. Likewise you have to write down, and you have to put on that the arrows is likewise, then only you can frame that the electronic configurations. This is the easy way method. So you have to write down for that the concept, and you can try this for that element of the electronic configurations. I am going to give that some examples. For example, the symbol of C, that is, what is that? Yes, carbon. Carbon is atomic number is what is 6. Okay. So I am going to frame that the electronic configuration of carbon. Arrow, you have to notice that the arrows, likewise only you can frame that the word 1s2. So S means 2 electrons, p orbitals means what is that? Yes, 6 electrons, and d orbitals means 10, f orbitals means 14. இதை நான் நிறைய முறை உங்களுக்கு அதையே ரிப்பீட் பண்ணிகிட்டே இருக்கேன். லாஸ்ட் கிளாஸ் கூட நான் சொல்லியிருந்தேன். பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் யூ ஹேவ் டு ரிமெம்பர் தட்ஸ் வாட். ஸோ 1s2, next arrow, okay, 2s2, and go for that 2p. 2p means 6. So you have to count it, but we need only 6 electrons. Already 1s2, 2s2 filled for 4 electrons. Remaining how many electrons is there? 2. So you can fill the 2 electrons only for that p orbitals. So 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6. So, okay, and move on to this another example for calcium. Calcium is the atomic number is 20. So I am going to frame that the electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, and 2p6. In this 2p6 around 10 electrons is fulfilled. After go for the 3s2 and go for the arrow way 3p6 and go for the 4s2. So totally 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. You have to count that the electrons totally how many is there? 20. So likewise you can write very easy way for the electronic configurations. Exam la kepanga atomic number கொடுத்து element name கொடுத்து electronic configurations கேட்பாங்க. அப்படி இல்லைன்னா உங்களுக்கு 1 மார்க்கில் வந்து சூஸ் பண்ண சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அந்த மெத்தடுக்கு நீங்கள் இதை அப்படியே ஃபாலோ பண்ணிங்க அப்படின்னா உங்களுக்கு ஈஸியாக இருக்கும். எப்படி இந்த டேப்லேஷன்ஸ்லாம் எழுதி வைப்பீங்க, காஸ் டேன் சைன் காஸ் டேனுக்கு டேப்லேஷன்ஸ் எழுதி வைப்பீங்களா, அந்த டிகிரியோட வேல்யூஸ், அதே மாதிரி நீங்கள் என்ன பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா அந்த பேப்பரில் ஒரு கார்னரில் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃப்ரேம் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கோங்க. எலக்ட்ரானிக் கான்ஃபிகரேஷன் கேட்டாங்கன்னா உங்களால் அழகாக இதை பேஸ் பண்ணி ஃப்ரேம் பண்ண முடியும். த மெயின் திங் யூ ஹாவ் டு நோட்டீஸ் வாட் இஸ் தட் த ஆரோ. ஸோ இந்த ஆரோவுடைய டைரெக்ஷனில் தான் நீங்கள் அதை ஃப்ரேம் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே வரணும். நீங்கள் 1s, 2s, 3p நீங்கள் இந்த மாதிரி ஆல்டர்னேட்டாக சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிங்கன்னா எலக்ட்ரானிக் கான்ஃபிகரேஷன்ஸ் இட்ஸ் நாட் பி இன் தி கரெக்ட் பொசிஷன். ஸோ யூ ஹாவ் டு நோட்டீஸ் அபவுட் த டைரெக்ஷன்ஸ். சரியா, அதனால தான் உங்களுக்கு ஆரோஸ் போட்டிருக்கேன். இந்த டைரெக்ஷனில் ஃப்ரேம் பண்ணிங்கனாலே அழகாக உங்களால் எலக்ட்ரானிக் கான்ஃபிகரேஷன் என்ன எலிமெண்ட்ஸ் கொடுத்தாலும் உங்களால் எழுத முடியும். ஓகேவா? ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் த ப்ரொசீஜர். அண்ட் மூவ் ஆன் டு திஸ் the main concept of this, the periodical table. I will show you in your periodical table and explain you. Okay, so this is the periodical table. You can see the pictures of the periodical table. You have to notice that in periodical table the 7 periods and 18 groups is there. I am going to explain about that groups as well as that periods. 7 groups means you can understand about the groups. It's mentioned it's s orbitals. If there is 2s and 3s, it's depending on that the number before that orbit of s orbitals, that is that the group number is mentioned. 2s means the second group, 3s means third group, 4s means fourth group. Likewise you can consider the s orbitals which have that the number is the periodical table. For that 7th period means 7s. Okay, so you can conclude how it is a periodical, the number is the s orbitals only can mention. Okay, and move on to these groups. The first group, you can see the first group here. For the first group, alkali metals, and second group is alkaline earth metals. For 3 to 12 is transition metals. Okay, the first is alkali metals and second alkaline earth metals, and 3 to 12 is the transition metals. And move on to this 13th. 13th you can call, that is boron family. Have to start with boron, so you can tell boron family, and 14th is carbon family, and 15th is nitrogen family, and 16th is oxygen family, 17th is halogen. You can tell halogens is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodines. Likewise, you can tell the 17th one is, what is that? Halogen family. And go for the last group is 18th, it's a noble gases, that is inert gases. Noble gas or inert gas, that is the meaning is, you can fulfill the electronic configurations, it's completely fulfilled of the last orbits. Last orbits fulfill complete, that means 2p6 ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன் இல்லையா. ஸோ 2p6 அப்படியே உங்களுக்கு ஃபுல்ஃபில்லாக கம்ப்ளீட் ஆகிருக்கும். யூ கேன் நோட்டீஸ் தட் ஐ எம் கோயிங் டு ஷோ யூ ஃபார் ஹீலியம் 1s2, நியான் 2s2 2p6, ஆர்கான் 2s2 2p6, எல்லாமே உங்களுக்கு எலக்ட்ரான்ஸ் எவ்வளோ ஃபுல்ஃபில் ஆகணுமோ அந்த ஸ்பேஸ் எல்லாமே உங்களுக்கு கம்ப்ளீட்டாக ஃபுல்ஃபில் ஆகிருக்கும். அந்த கைண்ட் ஆஃப் எலமெண்ட்ஸ் மட்டும்தான் உங்களுக்கு நோபல் கேஸஸில் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி வச்சுருப்பாங்க. ஓகேவா? ஸோ ஆரஞ்சு கலரில் இருக்கிறது உங்களுக்கு நோபல் கேஸ். ஸோ கலர் வைஸ் உங்களுக்கு டிஃப்ரென்ஷியேட் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இட்ஸ் டிபெண்டிங் ஆன் தட் அட்டாமிக் நம்பர் ஆஸ் வெல் அஸ் த வாட் இஸ் தட் த ஃபிசிக்கல் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ் அண்ட் கெமிக்கல் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ், த மெல்டிங் பாயிண்ட் அண்ட் பாய்லிங் பாயிண்ட், லைக்வைஸ் arrange of the modern periodical table. Okay, and move on to this, explain about the groups. For that, the transition elements is there for d orbitals, and before that the one more thing is s, p, d, okay, f, and s orbitals, that is called s block elements, p orbitals p block elements, and d orbital d block elements, and f block elements. First of all, go for the s block elements. S block elements is, what is that? The 1 and 2, that is called S block elements. In this color for S block elements, SP elements is 13 to 18. So 13 elements to the group is, to the 18th group it's called P block elements. Okay, this is the P block elements, this is S block elements, and D block elements, that is the transition 3 to 12, that is the D block elements, and F block elements is bottom of that periodical table, that is F block elements. Are you clear? S, P, D, F. Okay, that is the blocks. The 4 blocks is there for S, P, D, F. Are you clear? And move on to this, the transition elements for the first series. It is the first series of transition elements. It's start with Sc, that is cerium and that lutetium, that is the scandium to the zinc, the cerium to this lutetium, that is that lanthanides, the F block elements, and go for that actinides. For that, in this kind of elements, it's look like the most colored elements as well as the high melting point and boiling point also, so that we can separate things for the bottom of the periodical table. And move on to this, also it's called inner transition elements. This is transition elements and this is called inner transition elements. In this first series is called the first series of transition elements, and second series, that is third, that is fourth. So the transition elements have 4 series of the elements in ordering of that periodical table. Okay, can you understand about the 3 orbitals or block? You whatever you can tell about that. So many things is there for understand about that, the periodical table. Okay, this is general outer electronic configuration of elements in groups. So how to find out the general outer electronic configurations? We can using that formula, that is general formula for outer electronics. So electronic configurations நீங்க இங்க frame பண்றீங்க இல்லையா, so இதே frameல உங்களுக்கு the last orbits in the 2s 2p6, இந்த s orbitals p orbitals உங்களுக்கு லாஸ்ட்டாக கம்ப்ளீட் ஆகும் இல்லையா, அந்த ஆர்பிட்டல்ஸ்க்கான ஃபார்முலாக்கான ஃப்ரேம் வந்து உங்களுக்கு கொடுத்துருக்காங்க ஃபார் block wise, s block and p block, d block, f block. Okay, for that s block ns1 and ns2, so that is the possible. n means the number of period. நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்லியிருக்கேன் number of periods before we can mention that the n. If suppose 1s1 means how many periods is there for that? Okay, the first period. You can conclude that is the first period. If there is 3s1 means okay, this is the third period. So likewise you can consider that is the what is that periods. Okay, so ns1 and ns2. Okay, and move on to this the s block elements, and before that obviously the 1 means that is hydrogen and 2 means obviously that is what is that? The atomic number is helium. So 1 is hydrogen and 2 is helium. It's fixed for that the particular elements. And move on to this p block elements. What is that? The general outermost electron configuration formula, that is 1s2, 2p1, 2p2, 2p3. Likewise go on to this 2p, what is that? Not a 2, np6. I am just mentioned for that second period. So I am going to mention the general name is n. np 1 to 6 is possibility. So 1 இருக்கலாம் 2, 3 up to 6 வரைக்கும் உங்களுக்கு possibility இருக்கு for that p block elements. Okay, and move on to this d block elements. For the d block elements, ns2, n minus 1 d 1 to 10. Obviously you can write down up to the d block elements for what is that? The 10 electrons அப்படின்றது உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். So that is that general formula. You can write n minus 1 d for the periodical then group of name. Okay, and f block elements, it's a general formula. F block elements, it's mainly have to learn the specially for that the bottom of that periodic table சொல்லிட்டு உங்களுக்கு lanthanides and actinides பற்றி சொல்லியிருக்கேன். That is most colored elements as well as high melting point, and oxidations numbers கூட உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப வேரியேஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும். இதில் oxidations numbers பார்த்தீங்கன்னா மோர் தென் 1 தான் உங்களுக்கு எப்பவுமே இருக்கும். ஃபார் தட் p block d blocksலாம் மோர் தென் 1 oxidations number இருக்கும். பட் f block elementsல oxidations numbers is variations 1 elements to the other elements. Okay, and move on to this the general formula for outer electronic configuration is 4f 1 to 14 is possibility, and 5d 0 to 1 up to d orbitals 0 to 1 வரைக்கும் மட்டும்தான் உங்களுக்கு possibility இருக்கும். எதில் f block elementsல 0 to 10 possibilities கிடையாது. And 6s2 in this kind of arrangement having our modern periodical table. And move on to the actinides. 5s 0 to 14 and 6d 0 to 2 and 7s2. So this is the general formula. You have to read for that actinides lanthanides ஓட general formula கேட்பாங்க 2 marksல. ஸோ நீங்கள் இதை ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணணும். as well as இது உங்களுக்கு ஆப்வியஸ்லி உங்களுக்கு அந்த ஆஃப்பர் பிரின்சிபல்ஸ் படி போடுறப்ப உங்களுக்கு இது வந்துடும். ஓகேவா? ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் தட் த ப்ரொசீஜர் டு write that electronic configurations. Okay, I hope you understand about up to this video, and move on to this next chapter, that is the next class. Obviously you can send out your homework as per that time for 5 PM. Okay, thank you.